Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Fox 45 Morning News, 8 o'clock hour. We got a lot coming up in this hour.
The economy is slowly rebounding. Large and small businesses alike are looking to optimize their business survival strategies. Will U.S. businesses benefit from capitalism as usual, or is it time for a change in thinking so we don't repeat the mistakes of the past? Leading the field of brain science in business is Harvard Medical School professor Dr. Srini Pillai, author of Your Brain and Business, the Neuroscience of Great Leaders. He's here today to introduce us to the concepts of conscious capitalism, which has really been creating waves in the business community. But to me, and the skeptical media, I look at conscious capitalism as something that's, well, let's just give a few bucks to this charity so everyone sees it and they love us. Is that basically what's going on here?
Well, I think a lot of people see it that way. But I think there are a couple of things that are important to highlight when it comes to conscious capitalism. I think the first is that capitalism is essentially about profit-making within privately owned businesses. And conscious capitalism still acknowledges the importance of that. However, with conscious capitalism, what we're really talking about is the importance of focusing on people as they affect productivity, both in terms of trust and loyalty, but also customers. And how paying attention to what the customer wants actually impacts the business.
So what's the application of this? Is it, goodwill toward your employees? Is it goodwill toward the community?
Well, the application comes in a number of different ways. One of them is that, a 2002 study by Watson and Wyatt showed that high-trust businesses actually outperform low-trust businesses by 286% in terms of return to shareholders. And a recent study that was led by Raj Sisodia at Bentley University actually looked at whether it is possible to make large profits while you spend small amounts of money on marketing. And what they found was that it is possible, and there is one particular variable that they found amongst all companies who have this characteristic, and that was that they are all socially conscious. So what that says to us is that social consciousness is about being good to people. It is about paying attention to how people communicate about whether men and women work together in the business environment, but it does also impact the bottom line, which is money.
When you say trust and when you say being conscious, I think the thing that I'm thinking of is a grocery store that I go to that switched over from plastic bags to having those reusable bags available to shoppers. Is it things like that? Is it small ways that they show, hey, we're friends of the environment and we want you to be too?
Absolutely. I think that kind of impact can spread all the way from things like changing the kind of bags that you're using, because you're sending an implicit message essentially to the customer's brain that we care about you in the environment, and also to things like organic fruit and vegetables, for example, which used to be sort of merely as a luxury, but as we're thinking about the weight problem in America, as we're thinking about mortality, about morbidity, it actually makes a huge impact. So when you send a message out to the customer, you are effectively recruiting your own market, and you're creating your own market so that you don't have to actually spend money on reaching out for a market.
So what's happening in my brain as a shopper of this particular grocery store? Am I making the association that they're a friend of the environment and versus other grocery stores that I might go to?
Absolutely. So when you're thinking about your own brain and the way in which this actually impacts people, this is relevant in a number of different ways. One of them is that trust impacts the fear center of the brain. So whereas you might initially be averse to buying something, when you engage someone in a positive way, you start feeling good and you start feel like buying. So that's just one example.
So this is why neuroscience is so important to you, and for people to understand that the way that we think really does affect the way that we interact with the world and businesses.
Absolutely. I think what we're going to be talking about at this conference is essentially how different factors like trust, like not excluding people, that factors like this actually impact the brain, and they impact the way in which people work together and their productivity at work, which effectively impacts the profits.
Well, I do want to talk about this conference that you're going to be speaking at. It is a conference on conscious leadership and marketing. It's at Bentley University in May. It's going to be on the 17th and 18th, and the information is here. And you can also contact Dr. Pillai at the website you see below. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks very much for having me.
Gene, over to you.
All right, Elizabeth, thank you. 8:56. Finally, some answers.